Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump into this. So hopping over to VS Code. So up until this point, I've introduced the main function to you without with an empty parameter list. Conventionally, there are two parameters that can be passed into our program. The first one is going to be an integer called argc. This will serve as the count of the arguments provided to our program. It's always going to be at least one because, as we will see here shortly, the name of the program is always passed into it. Second is going to be essentially an array of pointers to C-style strings. We'll get into what a C-style string is once we talk about arrays, but in order to kind of get around using them directly, I'll show you that it's very easy to convert them into a standard library string, which you're already familiar with, and also supports a large number of powerful operations that you can use to manipulate those strings. So the second one is going to be written as such. You might also see this written as char argv, and we'll see that these two are equivalent. Go ahead and put the pointer on the type and go ahead and move in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just index into this array and take whatever the whatever is at the 0th position within it and simply output it to standard output. So this is converting that C-style string into a type of string that we're already familiar with. I'm just going to go ahead and insert it into the stream. And here you can see that the name of the program was indeed passed into our application. So how can I get an idea of the number of arguments that are passed in? How can I ensure that the proper number of arguments that I'm expecting are passed in? We'll go ahead and see what we can do with this. So if I wanted to just simply look at each of the arguments passed into my program, I could do something like for I is initialized to 0, I is less than argc, increment I. Let's go ahead and actually make this a compound block. Go std string arg, just copy and paste this. It's equal to that of I. And let's just output it to std standard out. So notice here that, again, because the name of the program is always passed, we're at least going to have an argument of size 1. If I want to pass additional strings to my program, I would go ahead and just list them directly after the application's name. Notice here that I have the first argument to my program is the program's name. The second is that first string. The third is going to be the additional string, and then the fourth is the fourth string. Notice here that this is white space delimited. So if I wanted to pass in, say, a string that had white spaces in it, I would use quotes. Notice here, indeed, that string was passed as a single string into my application. Alternatively, single quotes would also work. And then you can have a combination of this. And you can see here, in this case, there were 4 strings passed to the program name, one that had white spaces in, and to enforce that it was passed as a single argument to the program, we use single quotes. Double quotes would have also worked, followed by 2 additional strings, instructor and CS128. Let's say that I was expecting my program to always have, say, 1 argument to it. Or you know what, let's go with 2 to make it interesting. Let's say that our program does something like this. It's expecting the person's name. I don't know. Let's go with that. So we're expecting at least one argument. And then let's just say, howdy, username. Can't type this evening. All right. Go ahead and compile and see what happens. So that's an error. We'll get into exactly what this error is, but obviously we were looking at a location and there was nothing there. So it's likely this is probably because we're out of a range of the potential slots that we can index into in an argv. Perhaps we'd rather not get this nasty exception in this case, their error message, just call it that for now. So what we could do is say, these back, say something like if argc is not equal to 2, that's the number of arguments that we're expecting. We could say std cout argv of 0, and we could do something like, let me take this and go usage, and then go argv of 0, the program's name, and then let's just say user name. And we can print this to the user so that they're aware of how to use our application. Next, we can return 1 to ensure that nothing outside of this if statement is going to be executed, and also to communicate that the program terminated unsuccessfully. So now when I go and compile, attempt to run, you can see here with no arguments, I have a nice message that's saying, hey, here's how you use it. If I go ahead and use it correctly, howdy, Michael Nowak. Let's say I use it incorrectly again and pass 3 arguments. Again, I'm going to get that usage message. So that's some just really primitive error checking. What I would recommend is that anytime you're kind of receiving command line arguments that are being typed in by the user, and you'll need to do this for the actual first MP, not the pre-flight MP. I believe you're dealing with command line arguments. Check to ensure that you're getting the number of arguments that you're expecting. And then the next thing I might do would be ensure that each of those C-style strings gets converted into a standard library string that you're already familiar with. There's many ways how you could store these. You could, essentially perform this conversion and store the arguments in a vector of standard library strings. That's totally fair depending on the context and what you'd like to do with them. But the key here is going to be to get them into the standard library string so you can use them in a manner that you're familiar with.